So our strategic plan, you all know that we created this a while ago, and just a little bit has happened since we started this in 2018. Last March, as you know, we had to go to remote learning, and the COVID experience really didn't slow us down. As you see, the buildings that we put together across the street in the Hive really are a part of the projection of where we're going. But there are 8 key objectives that we laid out way back in 2018, and we're continuing and have pretty much gotten very, very close to accomplishing each one of these. So let me run through those real quick. Marketing. Those of you who sit in the classroom and look at the student body, your children whose classmates are in there, this is all based on how we communicate who we are and what we're about. So if you look through these bullet points, providing this type of communication to our parents in a way, what we've typically done, and Anne can share this with you on a parent level. 10 years ago, it was more mouth to mouth. Parents meeting each other at the playground, up at Taylor Bronner, or on the ball fields. But understanding who we are and what we're about, and being able to communicate that in a very cohesive way is what this is all about, and trying to understand not what only happens outside the school and attracting students into St. Benedict's, but what we're doing in the classrooms. Especially this year, I think communication is key, because you all aren't able to come into the classroom, see the building, and know what's going on. And hopefully through the social media and the print ads and the emails that we've been able to send out, you've been able to see a little bit more about what happens in the classroom. Enrollment, we are in the heyday right now of re-enrolling. Hopefully you have received an email that we are getting ready to allow that for you all, January 27th for the rising 2-year-old pre-K through February 17th. We're trying to get you all to look at that sooner than later, so that children who are coming from the outside, we know who is coming from the outside and who's going to be here for the years to come. So when we look at financial aid, that is across the board, trying to figure out how do we keep the students who need help, especially during COVID, and how do we help the families as we move forward. And you are very good at this. Why we are preschool through 8th grade, we have a lot of questions, less lately than we used to, but a lot of parents want to know why we're not a high school or looking to become a high school. And being a preschool through 8th grade school is a key part of who we are. So, Anne, if you want to.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Nice to see you tonight. Nice to have a small group, but we were happy to share this information with you tonight. And this is one of the things I'm super passionate about as not only an administrator, but also a parent, because I've seen how if the preschool through 8th grade model truly comes to become such an important part of the development of our students. As an administrator, I think it's so important for us to give children that are in those middle school years where they're feeling the least confident and the most exposed, the most vulnerable, the least probably happy time of their development. They are in a place where they are never missed. We're always watching them. We're giving them a safe place to fail. We're always checking in on them. They really are in a place where they don't slip through a crack. And I think that's exactly what they want to do. And so we are very careful and very intentional to make sure that they are not slipping through that crack. I think it also having leadership opportunities for students that are at 6th, 7th, and 8th grade are super important as they're figuring out who they are, and they're figuring out how they fit into their social groups, how they fit into their school environment, how they fit into their community. It's important to give them opportunities to dip their toe in the water, so to speak, and understand what leadership is all about, and giving them ways to have that role and to be confident in that role and to gain confidence to that role. And I think when you're a part of a school that has a preschool through 12th grade or a kindergarten through 12th grade, it becomes very institutional. It also becomes a place where there's a lot of focus put on where the senior is going to be going for college and where were the SAT scores and what did the football team do on Friday night. And then there's the flip side of the cute little ones that we adore and we love and all the fun things that they're doing. But the middle school kids are the ones that are in the middle there, and they're able to slip through the crack as middle schoolers at a time, again, when it's just they don't need to be slipping through cracks. As a parent, when I was looking at high schools with my daughter, who was my oldest, I realized that the preschool through 8th grade model gave us an intentional time to assess what it is we need to be looking for in the last 4 years that our kids are home with us before we send them off to college. And it was an intentional process that we went through as a family to make sure we were looking at all the schools that were out there, that she was actively engaged in that process. She was actively engaged in understanding what the application process looks like and what role she had to take in it, prepping for tests, writing her essays, making sure her transcripts were in place. And when she had to apply for college, it was not nearly as scary because it was something she had in that forefront of her memory, and she had experience doing it, and she knew what to anticipate and what to expect and how she was going to have to plan it and how she was going to have to stretch it out. So as a parent, I became very much aware of what a benefit it was for her to be able to have gone through this process as a rising high schooler and to figure this out herself. And a little side note too, some of the schools we looked at when she was 4, going ready to go into kindergarten, 5, were not the schools that she felt the most comfortable as she was getting ready to go into high school. They were not the ones that she felt like were good fits for her. And so I think having that intentional decision to see how your child's developed into a learner, where are their interests, where are their strengths, what are their needs, finding a place that really allows them to explore all of that is a very, very important process in a child's development. And it's important to always assess and make sure that where they are is meeting the needs that they have. And we do a really great job of that at St. Bede's, and we do a good job of that when it comes to finding them in high schools and finding them spaces for them to go. And we talk a little bit about that further in the presentation. Some of the schools where our children have been going, applying into, and we have college data now, and I think we come to that a little bit later.
So one of our other objectives for our strategic plan was to align our after-school care with the curriculum, as well as creating all the extracurricular activities that children need at the end of a day, a long day in some cases, and then also introducing the school to outside community members for summer camps. So you can see some of the things that we're offering this summer, and those offerings are about to go live. So take a look at those, but you can see a lot of this is not just having fun and playing or childcare specifically. It's more about how our curriculum and what our objectives are along our STEAM programs, art, cooking, not just in English, but Spanish and those kind of things. And then really as we look at our children at the end of a day, thinking about what we can do to enrich who they are, what they are about, and expose them to different things, getting them from school and then taking them up the street for another hour of enrichment was something that we wanted to take away from parents and allow St. Benedict's to be a place where they could have that enrichment here. So at the end of the day, you all know that St. Benedict's is enriching your child. So we're offering these kind of programs so that you all have a chance to be with your children at the end of the day, knowing that there's not a lot of carpool going on all over Smyrna. Fundraising, those of you who have already contributed, thank you for contributing to the Acorn Fund. This is not just an objective, but many of our objectives depend on it. So if you look at our strategic plan, the end of the day, we're not just looking for an annual fund gift, we're looking for participation. And that says to the outside community that St. Benedict's is all in. Our families are all about trying to enrich this program as far as it can, because tuition doesn't pay for everything. And if you compared our tuition to the schools around us, we're providing everything we can within the 4 walls that all those other schools are providing. But being able to give them a little more is what the Acorn Fund is about. And then the participation then says to outside foundations, which we're about to present, that we're all in. And if you can help us get to that next step, these are the areas that we are moving towards. So here you go. This is just a real quick overview of what our Acorn Fund looks like. The participation levels at 100%, being over 80% by parent participation. When we met with the Guazetta Foundation for our current grant, their jaws dropped when we had over 80% participation from our families. The monetary goals are there, as you can see. The gift size range, obviously we like folks to stretch, but we know that we are a school of 2 working families, and being able to afford what that range is really up to you. So this is just a lot of words that I just said, and being that we are an intimate group, just read through that real quick. We have added to our Acorn Fund the purpose of being a diverse community. And what that means is more than just saying words like diverse, or just looking around the room and seeing that there are different people in the room, but it includes being intentional about inclusivity and being very intentional about equality. So we decided this year with a grant or a gift from a parent to help integrate some of the curriculum that is in the classroom. Obviously, social studies and history are a big part of curriculum across the nation, but being able to integrate some of that with the experiences of families that are in our classroom is a big part of that. And so Pollyanna was a curriculum that we looked at, and it adds and enriches to the curriculum that we already have. Our parent teachers are going to be trained in August when we go back to pre-planning, and we're going to be doing an inventory of where we are as a community on the diversity spectrum, from we don't accept anybody all the way to how do we not only accept other cultures, races, and religions, but then how do we go further to understand them, to be respectful, and that kind of thing. So the IDI that you see here is going to be a part of all of that. And we're working with one of our parents. She's consulting us, Dr. Tiffany Russell. She's actually the diversity director at St. Martin's Episcopal School on the other side of 285. So this is very exciting for us to be able to actually put rubber on the road to this diversity inclusion initiative. Foundation gifts. We, if you did not see the announcement, this is huge for us. $500,000 goes a long way over 3 years. In presenting the grant, there are many different stages that are on the next slide that give you an idea of what to expect because we've got this grant. I think Angela, if she were here, she would be very clear that we are, STEM is not just about teaching science, teaching technology, teaching engineering, art, and math. It's integrating all of that, and not just those 4 or 5 specific subjects, but then including in other kind of lessons, what's happening, how we're doing that. And so a lot of schools have a maker space. Obviously, St. Benedict's, the word space is something that I'm going to get to. But we are trying to figure out how to do that in the classroom with the teachers, training them and getting them trained. So we're going to be hiring a director of STEAM, and this is on the next slide. And this is what you can expect over the next 3 years of this grant. Obviously, foundations like to start relationships and then continue those relationships. And so this is the first part of this. We're hoping that we can continue this relationship with Guazetta. But as you look at this list of things, these are expectations that you can see in the classroom. And preschool is a big part of this. I don't know many preschools that actually integrate science, technology, engineering, art, and math as part of their curriculum. And we're hoping that this grant will bring that to your children every day in the classroom as we continue this grant through its sunset. And then here again is another sort of outline of the things that are going to be coming because of this grant. I really don't know if I can articulate how exciting this is. We've been talking about it for a long time. We were hoping that Guizetta would be a good fit way before we applied, creating those relationships with them, and then having them look at us and say, this is a community that we want to invest in. Because, again, back to our Acorn Fund, it's a community that invests in itself. So one of the major parts of our strategic plan is creating facilities and accommodating our unique educational model. Opening the Hive was a part of that. Obviously, it was a necessity because of COVID and expanding, but when we realized that we could use COVID and expand and further our strategic plan, it became very exciting as we went outside to fundraisers, asking for gifts to help put this together. And I may speak for myself. I know Angela's got a child in this building, but it is I don't know. It's like it's just a neat little space for them. And as we move forward into the future, this could be an indoor play area. And I'll show you a slide where eventually it will become a gym. So if you look at this, this is our land. You are looking north at the top, south at the bottom. Number one is home base. That's where our nave is. That's our foundation. That's where the main campus, what we call the main campus. Number two is the Hive, our fourth grade classrooms now. And number three is, most people don't realize that that's two properties. So we have a field and part of a carpool lane and a building. And those two pieces of property we now own. And we're very excited about the future for those. So here's what we plan and hope to do looking towards those pieces of property. As you remember, back about a year and a half ago, we were looking at a large piece of property on Daniel Street, and because of COVID and needing to get the Hive zoned, we decided to get rid of the north side of this slide. We dropped it. We have a very good relationship with the owners, and it's not completely out of the question that we will be able to get 4.2 acres in the future. But as we look at Plan B, we're able to do most of what we had planned on our main campus. So if you look at this slide, you will see in blue the main campus. If you look at the red, imagine all the classrooms that are over on the south campus coming onto the main campus. That will leave us space to expand our nursery over onto the south campus. So 10 classrooms with bathrooms in the middle of each classroom will basically look like the bottom floor of the main campus right now. But it will expand our base. And if you haven't driven down some of the streets in Smyrna, preschools are popping up all over the place. The quality of those and the ability for us as a community and a small community to be able to build that as our foundation is huge. And then expanding our STEAM program into the middle school, having those maker spaces that we are not able to have right now. We do have a science classroom, but this will give us a lot of, this stage of the progress, space to be able to build into that. That'll include a 2-story auditorium slash cafeteria, where a lot of the students will be able to come over and have an indoor play area. And then as you get to the next stages, if we expand further, our specials will be able to move out of the red part of this building into the yellow. And then our final stage will be the gymnasium. And the next slide should lay that out very clearly. It's different phases. So I'll let you absorb that a little bit. If you'll go back to it, and phase 2 is coming up. A lot of that is going to be silent. So there's not going to be a huge kickoff. There's not going to be a lot of asking our parents to give, that kind of thing. We're going to hopefully get that and purchase the property that is on. Right now we are currently, we don't have it purchased, but we have it rented, and we have a very good relationship with the owner. But this is the next phase, and be able to do some renovations. The next phases are purposely not dated, so that we can look into the future, gauge where we're going to be, and see what the community would like to do in the next 3, 4, or 5 phases. So good news, phase 1 complete. Obviously we've moved in, and it's paid for. So there are a lot of families that have given to this. There's some outside givers who have given to this. We're very excited because it really does lay a foundation, again, to our outside community members, corporations, foundations, families, that we're able to do this internally, and there are families that are behind it. And I really can't, I guess I could. I mean, when we did our opening ceremony for the Hive, I think tears rolled down my eyes 10 years ago. Anne was here 11 years ago as a dream. 10 years ago, when I rolled up on this property and saw that financial center, I thought one day we're going to get that, and it finally came true. So very excited about this part of our phase 1. So what can you do? You can help us. If you personally want to give a large gift, that's great. But if you know anyone who can help or would be interested in being a part of this, this is what it's about. So we have different ways of doing that. You can reach out to me. Christy is our CFO, Christy Brown. And if you want to host a giving circle, if you know a group of people who want to hear more about St. Benedict's, it's all about, really, giving circles are about friend giving. Friend raising is the biggest part of what St. Benedict's is about. And the more people who learn about what we're doing, how we have enhanced education in Smyrna, giving another choice for folks who need it for whatever reason. Being a small community, a faith-based school, open to other faiths, which is unique in a faith-based school, and the caring and the longevity of our teachers who know and love your kids. That's what we're about. And so if you know people who want to be a part of that, let us know. And this is more about academics. Exceeding traditional standards. A lot of folks wonder where St. Benedict's comes up with the standards that we teach in each of our grades. By the time they graduate from 8th grade, they have completed, at least in math, a 9th grade course. Writing is a big part of what we do in 8th grade. And when children are writing essays and leaving St. Benedict's, we keep hearing how good their essays are. So how do we get there starts with your children in preschool, and being able to adapt our own curriculum and our own standards to where Georgia is, where the nation is. You've heard the word Common Core, what those expectations are. We want to go above and beyond. So we've been doing that. The STEAM grant is going to be a big part of that. If you have more questions about that, we'll start addressing those, but I think we're going to get down into the nitty-gritty here soon. And this is something that I believe Angela is more equipped to talk about, but she has been working in the upper grades, bringing together everything that I just described. Best practices, the standards. There's a lot of research that goes in behind a lot of that. What kind of math curriculum we're using, why we do Spanish, why we have cursive in 3rd grade, why we're introducing grammar as early as 2nd grade, why we continue the things that we're continuing through 4th and 5th, and then why we're escalating faster than most schools in math. All has to do with this Venn diagram. And again, this is a big part of it. We hired a professor of mine to be a consultant 2 years ago to create a dashboard for us to be able to measure all of this. So those of you who know anything about standardized testing, that's just one piece of how you measure a curriculum over 9-10 years, from your child's age all the way through 8th grade. And having a dashboard and being able to have a profile for each student, knowing what teachers' expectations are, how they're meeting those expectations. They're all in this dashboard has been created. Right Research is the name of the company, but it's on our own platform. So we're able to go in, measure each piece of our curriculum, put the ERB scores, which is our, we're starting those in 3rd grade now, and know that we're doing what we need to do to exceed the traditional standards for each student in every grade. And here are our priorities for next year. So I'll just give you a minute to absorb those. I've been through most of those. You might be interested in the fact that we continue to expand a grade a year. We've done that since we started in 2009 with a 2nd grade. We got to a point several years ago where we expanded a 3rd section or a 3rd class in kindergarten. And for a while, we're able to control the attrition from 2nd to 3rd. And then in 4th grade, we kept that in 2 sections. In the last 2 years, the excitement about St. Benedict's, our best kept secret, is starting to get out. And so this year we expanded, we have 4 classes, but we have 3 traditional classes if we didn't have COVID, of 4th grade. And so next year we'll be expanding that into 5th grade. As you can see, that continues on, and we will obviously need to continue our facilities expansion and the capital campaign that I laid out. It's a necessity, only because we're successful, not because we want to get bigger and bigger and bigger. But we made a cap. We put that in the objectives for our strategic plan of 3 sections per grade, so that we continue to be a small community. We don't want to go beyond that. And we are also very hopeful that we will continue being a preschool through 8th grade because of all the reasons Ann shared. So these are the schools that our kids go to. If they leave St. Benedict's in 8th grade, or they use St. Benedict's as a jumping off point before they reach 8th grade, these are all the schools, and you recognize these. If you don't know what the big green W is, that's Westminster. If you don't know what Cobb Academic Division is, that's a high school magnet program. If you live in Smyrna, you are going to be going to Campbell High School. However, Campbell High School has a magnet program, which is an IB program. And if International Baccalaureate is not the area you think your kid is hoping to go into, you can stay in Smyrna and go to Wheeler, North Cobb, South Cobb, North Atlanta, well, not North Atlanta, but
North Cobb.
North Cobb. Yeah, Pebblebrook, and get a magnet program in any of the areas that they share. So we've got children in all of these schools excelling. And as Ann said, being a preschool through 8th grade, by the time they get in 8th grade, they really understand what their learning style is and where they will fit best. So whether it's private or public, there's an option, and you can stay right here in Smyrna. So with that, I conclude the state of the school. We didn't want to do this as one big thing and have everybody come back for a move up meeting. Hopefully I didn't go on too long so that you can really get to the meat of why you're here, which is our pre-K program.
So our ones and our twos have really laid the foundation for what's to come in the 3-year-old classroom. And this is an exciting time for your students, because there's a lot of changes between the twos program and the threes program. And, It's an exciting time for them to learn and grow. It's an exciting time for them to take all of the skills that have been taught to them in the ones and the twos and to develop those and continue their independence and continue their academics and continue to play and to learn. And this is the team of amazing St. B's teachers that work with them to continue that great foundation that Courtney and her team have started in the ones and the twos program. So Melanie Clark and Christine make up the Frogs classroom. It's been called the Frogs forever now, and I don't think that name's ever going to go away. It's the Speckled Frogs, and so Melanie's the lead in that classroom, and Christine is her associate. And then the Buzzing Bees is made up with Susan and Miss B. So these are the team that teach the teacher children in our threes program. And the one person off that slide that we should make sure also gets noted is Miss Marta, because Miss Marta goes in, and this is when the formal Spanish program will actually begin. So at 3 years old, Miss Marta goes into the 3-year-old classroom every day except for Wednesday. So it's 4 days a week. On Wednesday it's chapel time, so they don't have chapel. I'm sorry, they don't have Spanish, and they have Spanish with Miss Marta. And Marta is, if you don't know her, I know the stewards know her, but Lisa, y'all may not know her yet. She is a force of nature in the best possible way. The children love her. She teaches them with such grace and passion and fun that they are instantly immersed in everything that she does. And they really look forward to her being in there every single day. And she teaches them through songs and through games. And it's a great place for children to begin the foundations or to extend what they already know about Spanish in some cases, and to have fun doing it. And this is the whole basis of our preschool program, 1 through 4, is really to teach children the joy of learning and giving them opportunities where they love to go to school. And this team, in addition with Miss Marta, is really, they do such an amazing job at making children feel loved and nurtured, helping them have a good time, and teaching them all the things that are the foundations for pre-K. So Melanie and Susan put together a short video that they are going to be describing their program to you, and I'm going to play that for you now so that you can get a sense of what is to come next year in the 3-year-old classroom. It begins with the morning schedule, and before I hit pause, I want you all to be able to see that one of the big changes we have going from the 2s to the 3s is carpool. For some parents, that's super exciting that they don't have to get out of the car and walk their children inside. We have teachers up and down the sidewalk that will greet your child at the car door and will walk them into their classrooms. And that's a big deal. So for us, that starts at 8:30. It goes until 8:45. At 8:45, the 3-year-olds start with morning meeting. They have packing. They have a restroom. The bathroom, as a matter of just logistics, the bathroom connects the 2 3-year-old classrooms. So when one 3-year-old class is in the restroom, the other class is not in it, and then they switch off. So they have an opportunity for the children to go in small little groups, not the whole 3-year-olds going at one time, and they don't have to leave their room to do it, which is great when they are extending the potty training, because we do ask for them to be trained before they go into the 3-year-old classroom. They have morning meeting. Morning meeting is such an important part of our students' day from 3 years old all the way up through 8th grade. It's an intentional time for us to set the tone for the day. And so that tone is sometimes set by just reviewing what the schedule is going to be. Sometimes the tone is set by talking about a fun activity that's coming up that's new and different. Sometimes the tone is set by introducing them to a mystery Zoom that's going to come in and read a mystery book to them. And sometimes it's just making a note of who's missing from their classroom that day. So we begin to set the tone for community. We begin to set the tone at the smallest age and at the smallest level, so that they begin to build empathy and connection and compassion for one another, and welcoming people back when they've been gone and letting them talk about where they have been, letting them share what it is that they've experienced. If they haven't been in school, if they've been on a trip, or if they've been with special grandparents, or family has been in town visiting. It's an important time for us to just check in with everyone and make sure we're starting the day on the right foot. We then go out immediately in the 3-year-old classroom and have recess. Every classroom has recess, and they are in the same playground that they've been using for the 2s class. So they're familiar with that playground, and that's a fun time. Obviously, they love recess. They come inside, and the 3-year-olds will have their snack. And this is about the cutest thing I've ever seen, because they all sit at the table. much like they've done at the harvest table and the twos, and they have their snack together and they have a time to chat. And the harvest table is kind of the foundations of the community in the twos, and it continues on into the threes. After snack, Miss Marta comes in, and Miss Marta has Spanish with the 3-year-olds, and then we get to do some whole group and center time. This is a really great time because the centers are intentional and they follow the curriculum of what the teachers have laid out for the week. And the centers are important times for them to be able to let the children play while they do one-on-one or small group learning with individual children. So we can really differentiate during this time. And it's a great time for us to be able to work with children on skills that we know are going to be necessary as they move into the pre-K classroom. We have wash hands, we have cleanup, there's some movements and books, some letters of the week. We forgot lunch, lunch is in there too. And then we have carpool, that's at 12:45, and that extends to 1. And the other big exciting change with the 3-year-old classroom is at 1 o'clock, we begin Passport. And Passport, as you know, is our after school program. The difference in the 3-year-old classroom is your child can stay until 6. So we do extend Passport for 3-year-olds. The continuity of care that we strive so hard to make sure we maintain in the 1s and the 2s can adjust a little bit because the 3-year-olds are a little bit, they're a little older, and they're able to accept a little bit more people coming in once they get to know them. So it allows us to sort of adjust the hours of their day and allows them to be able to stay until 6. And for those of you who have, maybe one of you who has an older child, you can time your pickup so you're picking up at the same time. So I just wanted to go through that schedule with you briefly. The teachers are going to talk a lot more about the ins and outs of what the classroom means and what the schedule actually looks like in real life. And then Courtney and I are here to answer your questions. So Courtney, I asked her to join just because obviously she knows your children and you all know her, and she knows what they have accomplished in the 2-year-old classroom, and she can help us with questions that that will pertain to how they transfer to the 3-year-old class. So this is very short, but I want you to be able to hear from the teachers.
And I don't think there's any sound.
So that happens, and I don't know how to, Brian, do you know how to adjust that?
No.
On these videos?
Yeah, I think you have to play it. Can you hear it?
I can hear it.
You can hear it. Do you have your earphones in?
Nope. So let me try one thing.
Okay.
If we can't make it work, I can just forward this video out. Let me try playing it directly from here. Let's see, we're in the 3s, not the 2s. Can you all hear that?
No.
No. Well, shoot. So I don't know why that's not working. I will forward this link out to you as soon as we finish this meeting so that you all can hear from them. I apologize for that. We were going to end with that and then let you talk about your questions. And perhaps you all already have questions that have come up during the State of the School or about the schedule themselves. I'm going to go back and share my screen and just focus on the schedule for right now so that you can at least see what they're doing throughout the day. And then I will definitely follow up with this video as soon as we conclude this meeting. Really sorry about that. Brian, do you want to open it up for any questions?
Yeah, if you all want to ask questions, you can put them in the chat and I'll observe those, or we're a small enough group and you may know each other. Just go ahead and unmute and let them fly. Those are the best kind of questions.
Well, I'll just, I think
We covered a lot.
I think the one biggest change going from the 2s to the 3s, and Courtney, maybe you can help with the communication changes a little bit. You all are used to tadpoles in the 2-year-old classroom, and you go more to a communication style of a student folder with emails that come from the teacher. So I know you are accustomed to getting a lot of information in tadpoles, from everything from what they've eaten to their changing schedule and their potty training habits towards their play and their disposition. And we definitely try to bridge that communication a little bit into the 3-year-old classroom. So you do have daily communication that's not quite as detailed as what you get in the 2s, but I think that's probably one of the biggest transitions from 2s to 3s, is just that change in that. Courtney, you've talked a lot about that with the 3-year-old teachers. Do you want to expand on that at all?
No, I mean, I think you covered it. I think it's just getting used to a different way of communicating. They do have their sheets that they send home every day that still gives you an idea about how kind of their lunch went. And, you know, if they had, you know, a good day and things like that. But it is something that's more proactive. I mean, you know, the tadpoles is sent to you in your email. It's just a click open, and this is opening up the folder, which you're used to the folder. We send a folder home, but you just get used to checking it every single day because there will be information in there each day for you to see.
And then your teachers will send you a weekly email that'll tell you what's coming up for that week in the classrooms. You get usually that on Sunday evenings. I send that on Sundays. And then we have the same parent-teacher conference schedule that you're accustomed to in the 2-year-old class, where we have the fall conference and the spring conference. Of course, anytime in between, you have a teacher email, and they will be emailing you if you've got concerns, or they have concerns, or you have questions, or they have questions. And we always let you know, especially during the transition period of those first few days, how it's going. We did some field trips last year, didn't we, Courtney, where we took the 2s down to the 3s towards the end of the year and let them see the classroom, so they get a little bit accustomed to a little inside field trip, so they can see what that looks like. And then we last year we also had some of the teachers go down and read stories to them at some point, and so that they get familiar with those faces too, so they're not complete strangers.
Yeah. And the other great thing is because we're on the playground during the 2-year-olds on the playground during preschool carpool, all the teachers stop by typically at the end of carpool and just talk to the 2-year-olds. So it's a very it seems to be a very smooth and easy transition. They already know the teachers, and are excited to get to move up to that, you know, move down the hallway. Absolutely.
The uniform, we don't uniform until kindergarten, so some of you may know that, some of you may not know that, but we do have a tote bag that we would give you for the 3s. It's very similar to what you've been using in the 2s, so we just renewed that. You would use that same tote bag for the 3-year-olds. Lunch, their other big change is that you would you're used to bringing your lunch from home in the 2-year-old class. In the 3s, you can start ordering lunch from our lunch service provider that's called Chef Advantage, and we send you all the information about that during the summer. So that's another big change for the 3-year-olds, is being able to have that option. They have options throughout the week that are some salads, some sandwiches, some make your own kind of things. So that's an option too. And there's a lot of food in that. So some families try it and some kids really love it, and others, you know, we always let you know whether or not that's a huge hit or not, so you're not paying for food that your children aren't eating. So we do a lot of that kind of communication with you too. And then we try to have, of course, the reading parents will do the same kinds of things that you're accustomed to in the 2s. We're trying to build community amongst yourselves as well, and give you opportunities to get to know one another. As far as placement goes, one of the big questions I got last year from families who made this transition was, how do we place? You know, they have their big buddies and their big friends in the 2s, and they don't want to lose their big buddies and their friends as they go into the 3s. So Courtney works with me, and we do some really careful class placement to make sure that they go into each of the classrooms with friends from the 2-year-old program, so that they do have familiar faces with them, and some of the relationships that they may have already built can continue on into the 3-year-old program. So we're very intentional about that. And And Courtney and I work, really well together in making sure that we pair personalities up with Melanie and Susan. That video, you only got a quick little visual, but they are both, it's two really loving, compassionate groups of teachers, and they, sometimes one personality clicks better with another. And so Courtney and I work really well to make sure that we meet your children where they are too, and put them in the right space for them. Those are some of the things that I know we've been asked in the past, trying to anticipate your questions.
Hi, this is Shobha Samani. I'm Ayan's mom. Can you all hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a couple of questions. One is, can you all share what's the total number of kids that are part of each of the 3-year-old classroom? I'm sorry if I missed that. If you shared that up front, I joined a little bit late. And then also, can you also share in terms of what's your expectation in their potty training maturity level that's expected at the 3-year-old class?
Yeah, those are great questions. So pre-COVID, our classroom size in those 3-year-old classrooms was 16. We did take it down to, one room has 13, one room has 12 this year. So they're a little bit smaller, allows the children to spread out a little bit more. So I think next year we'll probably be somewhere between that 12 and that 16, where, we won't go over that. And there's 2 teachers in every classroom, all the way through the 3s program, the 4s, all the way through elementary into the 3rd grade. So we have 2 teachers at that model all the way through our school. So that's really helpful for differentiation. So they've gone from a ratio, in the 2-year-old classroom of 1 to 7, Courtney?
1 to 5.
1 to 5, sorry. And then they go a little bit bigger. And then in pre-K, just so you know, forward looking, they only go up to 1 to 9. And then in kindergarten, they go 1 to 10. So we're gradually building that ratio so that doesn't go above 1 to 10. And 2021 is the most we would ever have of any of our classrooms. So the question about potty training is we do not have diaper changing facilities in those 3-year-old classrooms. So we do ask that they be potty trained before they come into the 3s classroom. And we also know we're dealing with children that are very small and sometimes have individual schedules that don't always meet our schedule. And so we try to be flexible and understand that we can only do so much, and we just work with you. We do ask that they be as trained as possible before we put them into the 3-year-old classroom, just because of a facility standpoint. We have extra clothes and we would change them. Of course, they have accidents. We're very accustomed to doing that. And Nurse Cheryl would continue to provide care for them. Nurse Cheryl, some of you all know from the 2-year-old classroom, she continues as the nurse in the 3s and the 4s all the way through the elementary building. So she's a constant there as well. And she helps if there's any kind of changing that needs to happen too.
That's very helpful. Thank you.
Sure. I'm so sorry about the video, but I promise I just was texting Nicole. She's going to get it out to you all this evening. So we'll make sure you get that video so you can look through it. And then if you have other questions after you see that, you're welcome to reach out, and Courtney and I are more than happy to help answer those. Anything in the chat? All right, I didn't see anything in the chat.
Good. Yeah, I think we're good.
Right.
Really appreciate your all's time. The state of the school, again, was part of just seeing the big picture of where we're headed at St. Benedict's, and most of what you all are experiencing here, you wouldn't be here tonight if you weren't very invested in your child, and giving you a glimpse of what to look forward to next year is what we're here. If you have any other questions, we're here. Courtney's here, Ann's here. The teachers who you may or may not be in their class, depending on where your child is placed, can answer those questions. So feel free to join us.
Thank you so much.
Night. I can't end this because I think the next group is already on their way in.
Good night.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Take care, Scott. Thank you.
Bye. Bye.
Bye-bye.